Hi, I'm Judy from Craftpreneur Fairy. We do a lot of shows, and when we do a show, people always ask us how we do our fairy soaps. We have different fairies. This is our mermaid. I guess she isn't exactly a fairy, but then here's our twin fairies. And they're very intricate. I even had one person ask me if I carved these individually. If you saw how many that I have at these shows, you'd know that I have no patience to do one, let alone 100 carved fairies. You can even see all the details, like on her fin. You can see all the scales and her hair and her hand. What we do use to make these soaps is we use a silicone mold. This is the mermaid soap, which is what I'm going to use to show you today. Has all the details in here. I order my soap molds from a guy in Taiwan. Really good quality. You could probably find the same mold on Etsy or eBay for like $7. Once you have poured 100 batches into a soap mold, it has a tendency the sides will cave in. And the cheap ones, you can buy and they'll make beautiful soap. Won't last as long because the sides are really thin. This guy makes beautiful molds. They're very intricate, get all the detail, and they're nice and sturdy and last a lot more batches of soap. So this is the one that I'm going to show you today. This is really easy. I do this in 2 steps. I use goat's milk soap, which I buy in bulk. This is a melt and pour soap. I use the non-detergent premium soap from Wholesale Supply Plus. I'll put a link below. But you can also buy, if you're just starting out and just want to buy soap at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or AC Moore, you just get a 2-pound loaf and it'll be just fine. I melt a quantity, of that, and then this will be your best friend when you're doing melt and pour soap. This is rubbing alcohol and it's in a squirt bottle. Yeah, I should have it labeled, but everybody in the house knows you don't use the orange squirt bottle. You dose your mold liberally, and then you use a pipette. And I've melted a small quantity of the soap in here, and it's still white. You don't want to put any color at all in this. You use the pipette and you just pour it into the spot where the fairy is. You can melt the soap in the microwave. You just do it in very short bursts. You don't want your soap really hot. And if you do put it in there for too long, it'll actually turn brown, which is kind of nasty. You just want to make sure you're getting it where all the details are. Okay, now you notice you'll see the bubbles. You just spritz it with the rubbing alcohol and all the bubbles have magically disappeared. Now you want to, this will take about 15 to 20 minutes to get hard. You want it to get hard because you're going to pour another layer of soap over top of it. In the meantime, you can take, I've got more soap here, and I'm going to add it to the container of soap that I already had. Now this mermaid is typically 3 ounces, so I know about how much soap to add. And I've got a little bit of, I'm doing jasmine today, a jasmine fragrance, and I always do my jasmine in green, and this is a little color blocks of soap that will turn the soap green. And I put it in the microwave for about 10 seconds at a time. You don't want to do it for any longer than that. And it won't all melt, but you just kind of stir it around, make sure there isn't any hot spots, and then you put it in for 10 more seconds. As you can see, the green is starting to melt, making a nice color, but we still have the chunks in there. So we probably want to do it for 10 more seconds. I usually do more than one soap at a time. I have 9 fairy soap molds, so we usually do all 9 in one batch. And so we have a very large container that we melt soap in, and it takes a lot longer, but you only want to give it that 10 seconds at a time. So that took a total of 30 seconds. Now, your mermaid first layer is not quite hard yet, and this soap is at 160 degrees. You don't want to pour this soap until it's at least 135, if not lower. So you have to give this time to cool off. You also can't put the fragrance in, the flash point on this. Oh, you put this in, it's 200. I don't put my fragrance in until the soap has gotten cooler, so we don't lose any of the fragrance. Okay, so we've let this cool down. It's about 134 probably now. And I'm going to add the fragrance. I get the fragrance from Wholesale Supply Plus. I really like the fact that they have the flash point, so you know what temperature you can add it, because you don't want to lose any of your fragrance. And since this is just a single bar, the soap, we just add a little bit. This is a really strong fragrance. And we stir it in. And you can see it's gotten a little thicker, but it's still pourable. Now I'm going to take my mold here, and I'm going to squirt it again with the alcohol, because the alcohol makes the 2 layers bond together. And then we just poured it. And if it goes over the sides, that's okay. We'll just trim that off when it's popped out of the mold. And once again, you'll see that there's bubbles in the soap. And they're gone. The rubbing alcohol doesn't stain the soap, it's just on the surface. So the rubbing alcohol just kind of evaporates really quickly, so you don't have to worry about that in your soap. And now comes the hard part, because now you have to wait for this to get hard. It'll probably take a good hour to 2 hours, but you just let it set. Don't disturb it, because if you move it, you're going to end up with ripples in the bottom of your soap. Okay, so now for the waiting. Okay, it's been a little over an hour, and it's nice and hard. It's still warm, but to the touch it's nice and solid, so you can move it. You just very gently pull on the silicone sides, and it just comes away from the mold. Now there's a little bit of overflow, it might be a little... Okay. And then just press on the top and pull up the sides. And there you have a mermaid. Now you still don't want to touch the whole lot, because like I said, it's still kind of warm. Let me just trim off those extra edges. And there you have a mermaid fairy. Really easy to do. You've got all those details in here from the silicone mold. You can even see her eyes and her little nose. Still entrances me when I pop these out of the molds. They come out with all these details, and I really don't do a whole lot to make them the way that they are. You just have a good quality of a mold. That matters a lot, because if you get somebody who's basically what they're doing is they're making their mold out of this bar of soap, so you lose a lot of that detail. So you need a good quality mold, you need good quality soap, fragrance and color, and you're on your way. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Excuse me. Give us a thumbs up and like and share. We'd appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye.